Hey everyone, this is Steve Weintraub with Collider. I'm here at our Sundance studio, which is being sponsored by Rendezvous Capital. I want to give them a huge thank you for being our sponsor, which allows us to support indie cinema here at Sundance and everything else at the festival. I also want to shout out LA Wildfire Relief Live, which is raising money for all the people affected by the fires in California. It is so much worse than the news will have you see. If you have the ability to donate anything, please visit lawildfirerelief.live. And thank you. And now I get to talk to the fine folks behind Bulldozer. How are you guys doing?
We're great. How are you?
Listen, first of all, congrats on the pilot. But no one will have seen it yet. So how have you been, who's going to bite the bullet and say what it is, like describing it to friends and family?
She's going to bite that bullet.
It's me, but heightened 11%.
Wait, is it okay?
Or heightened 5%.
No, I'd like to say it's heightened 80%, but realistically, it's probably 11%. But it's inspired by true events. It's basically the story of an undermedicated, chronically impassioned young woman who lurches from crisis to crisis of her own making.
So one of the things about Hollywood is that there's a lot of people who are trying to get work, and often it's people writing themselves a role that helps, get to another level. So how much was that like the inspiration? Like I want to write something just to show what I can do because I'm funny, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know that I even had that end game in mind. It was just I had to make this. I had to write it. I had to make it, and that was sort of, yeah.
This is a question for you. Do you feel like part of why you did it was because all the pain that you experienced, that it was the only thing that made it worth it was to write about it?
Once you have some distance from things, it's kind of funny.
That's true.
So let me ask you, in your pilot, your character is going through a relationship breakup and stuff like that. So how much is like everything in it really stuff that happened to you?
Well, so what's cool about it is if any particular ex watches it, it's not about him because they all have cheated for the most part, give or take a couple. So that's good. It's sort of a combination of all of these men. But I think also part of what I wanted to hit on is this, it sort of has a bit of a mental health element to it, right? And so I wanted to focus on, I feel like mental health in cinema usually focuses on one type of mental illness, right? You see OCD, you see depression, you see schizophrenia, and it sort of has to fit into a box. And so with this character, it's sort of that universal mental health crisis that we're all experiencing, and just the idea that it doesn't have to fit into a box, and that sort of in the right unfortunate circumstances, we can all be triggered. And that's sort of a big portion of the show is just the frustrations of life and the injustices and trying to plow or bulldoze right through them.
I also think that part of what the show ultimately is about her trying to understand who she is and what it is that causes her to behave the way she behaves, and whether it is mental illness or whether it is physical illness or whether it is just I'm a human being and I'm just I wear my heart on my sleeve a little bit more than other people, So I think that's part of the.
And why life is so hard. Like it's so hard and it's exhausting.
So you have worked as an actor on like a 1,000 things.
Some things, yeah.
Yeah, and also specifically I'm going to shout out Barry, just to mention it. So what did you learn in the different shows that you've worked on and the different roles that you were like sort of, mentally remembering, like for the time I get behind the camera, I want to do this?
Yeah, well, so I also want to touch briefly on, on her writing this thing. And I don't know what her thought process was in terms of what she wanted to see from it, but from what I wanted to see from it and why I jumped in to direct it was because she's in every single scene. She's also a great director and she's directed her own stuff before. But I felt like, and I think she felt like this was a big endeavor and it needed an extra hand to do it. So for me, it was an opportunity to let the world see how talented I know she is and always has been. And the script was so good that it was like, I would love to be able to help bring this to life. What was great is that I have had the opportunity to be on some very, very good shows, and I've learned a lot watching, whether it was Bill Hader or Alec Berg on Barry or Michael Showalter on The Dropout, or any number of great directors that I've had the opportunity to work with. And our DP was the DP on The Dropout, and so I got to sort of collect people as I went along. So by the time, and actors as well, this cast is amazing.
Yeah.
And so as over the last 5 years, I've worked with some amazing people, and what was so cool is that I got to give them her script, and it's so rare that people just say like, whatever you need. Like they're not going to do it unless they love it. And she wrote a great script, and people were like, I'll show up. And so we were very lucky to have a ton of amazing people.
You should mention just name drop a few of the people.
So like Mary Steenburgen and Nat Faxon and Alan Leach and Harvey Guillen and Kate Burton and Tim Bagley and comedian Chris C.P. Powell and
as I was watching, I'm like, oh Jesus! Because
we're so lucky.
Yeah, it was like a murderer's row of people in a pilot.
Yeah, and they all just basically volunteered, right? They showed up. Mary Steenburgen had her own wig made. She was like, I'll do it, but I want to wear a wig, and can I have one made? And I was like, well, I feel bad. She's like, no, I want to do it, and she did it. She made it, and then as we're shooting it, literally the day that she's there, because we're doing this for no money, the cops are like, as we're getting her coverage, the cops came to this house. It's just trying to kick us out, and they're trying to bust down the door, and my production designer's holding down the door while I'm just rolling on her just before we get kicked out. Eventually we did get kicked out.
But then the best part, one of the officers said, is that Mary Steenburgen? And he goes, she's hot. And I was like, oh, well, if we let you talk to her, could we stay? He's like, no.
Wait, so I have to ask, what happened did you rent something on Airbnb and say, screw it?
We actually had all the correct permits.
We had these very big trucks. That the neighbors didn't like, but even though we had the right permits, they still were like they wanted. We realized after the fact that we should have been able to stay, but at the time when there were literally 8 policemen saying we're going to come in and take the camera
and physically remove it.
Yeah,
the insurance on that.
So we were like, oh no, we're going, and so one by one, like people would come out with like a coffee cup and like a wrench because we were trying. So while I was still rolling on Mary, because I knew that this was the day I had Mary. We weren't going to be able to get her back. So
actually, so in that scene, all of my coverage is to no one.
From another day, because we had to go back.
But by the way, I wish more people understood the movie magic. Like there's these Avengers movies, not that you're an Avenger movie, but like oftentimes there's an 8-person scene. They're all doing individual days.
Right.
That's being put together in post.
Yeah.
Totally. But she came out. She was like, "What's going on?" We're like, "Oh, the police came. They shut us down. So we're gonna go shoot. We're gonna go shoot down the street at this flower shop." She's like, "Okay, well, let me know where to go." And she got in the car and just drove her there. And it's such. This is an Academy Award winning, actress who was just so generous with and just I think just excited to play a character she hadn't played before. But to go back and answer your question, and I'm on the set on Barry, like I'm asking Bill Hader, I'm saying, hey, why'd you decide to do that? Why'd you decide to let that entire scene play from 200 feet away? I wasn't quite as, I think, ballsy as perhaps he was in that show. And, I think we wanted to deliver something that felt fresh, but also maybe felt a little bit.
But I'd also say, and I'd argue that Barry has its own unique style.
Totally.
And that style would not fit with Bulldozer. It's 2 different worlds.
Yes.
You know
totally.
What I mean?
Yeah, totally. But that was sort of always the question in making this was how do you know? Because this is the first episode, right? So how do you know? Should it be handheld? Should it not be handheld? These were all just sort of, you try to guess and hope for the best. And then we had to, we learned some things. We did some reshoots and, so you just kind of learn as you go.
So let's talk about the financing and getting this off the ground. It's impossible for everyone to get money. How was it for this? Who was the miracle person that came in and said, I'll help you?
So we have Rhett Reese. We have Rhett Reese's brother, Caleb Reese. And then the 2 of us, so we each did a third of our own money.
So basically, Rhett wrote Deadpool and
I'm familiar. He's made at least $5 in profit from the Deadpool movie.
And he's never put his own money into a project. And this was sort of, he read the script. He's a friend of mine, and he really wanted to see it get made. And we had obstacle after obstacle. We were about to make it. As we're closing the deal, the attorney called me and he's like, there's some virus, so I have to leave the office for 3 days. I was like, okay, so we'll just, don't worry about it. We'll just close it.
There was a studio that was going to give us some money to make it,
originally. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, no worries. And then 3 days turned into a year and a half of COVID where nothing was being made. And then the studio
was like, actually, we can't do it anymore. So to Rhett, and I don't, it's just probably harder for her to say, but Rhett really believes in Joanna, and he loved the script, and he just wanted to see it happen. And we knew that the only way that it was going to happen with her starring in it and me directing it was if we just did it ourselves, right? So if we walked into a room, they would have been like, we love the script, so who can we get to play that part? And who can we get to direct it? And all those things. And I think Rhett, to his credit, I think we can all agree that he's pretty stupid. But to his credit,
my headline is going to be: can we all agree that Rhett is pretty stupid?
No, I think
cast of Bulldozer.
I don't think it's stupidity. I think he's just so nice. He is the nicest human being I've ever met,
and just very supportive. And I think it's just, but it's to his credit that it's sort of. I mean, I think we all just know how talented she is, and it's such a hard industry, and it's so random that, and so it's like let's, I mean, as he says, put my money where my mouth is and say, like, I believe in her and I believe in this script and I believe in the show. And honestly, I honestly think that if we went to Rhett tomorrow and said, hey, what do you think about just like us like just funding the entire 3 seasons? He'd probably be like, all right. And I'd be like, no, Rhett, don't do that, Rhett.
It's really funny though. Helen Harper is here and they shot an 8-episode series independently, and the show is for sale here, and they've already shot all 8 episodes.
Wow.
It's like a completely different model.
How did they fund that?
I have absolutely no. Perry, how did they fund Helen Harper?
Okay.
No, but I mean, like they came in,
right.
And but it's like it's just a completely different model, you know. And also, with Kiss of the Spider Woman, which Bill Condon did, they did that with artist equity. So everyone worked for scale, like every single person, but they all own a piece of it. So when it sells here, they are going to get money.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that's how that worked.
Yeah,
that's really smart. I mean, we're talking about how to do something similar now and make a season of this thing. She's written additional scripts and
I actually want to do a follow up. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
No,
so like, how much now have you been writing? Like, did you decide, I think I could do like a 6-episode season or an 8-episode season, and because it takes time to write. So what happens if someone here is like, oh, that was really good. Let us make a season. Where are the scripts?
Yeah, they're so basically I leave my house, and when I come home at the end of the day, a new episode has written itself. So I have, no joke, like a 265-page document of stories I'm just rearing to tell. But I have written 2 other scripts, and then the other ones are outlined. But are
you thinking 6 or 8 episodes?
I'll do whatever the people want. I'll do 3 episodes and be content. Whatever you guys want.
I think 6 would be actually a great starting point, unless someone said they needed 8. I think especially because we would obviously be doing this on a budget in some way, and you end up, when you do things on a budget, you end up doing a lot of jobs like craft services and editing and things like that maybe you wouldn't normally do if you had a full staff. So I don't know that we could physically
Well, it depends how much
time, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, the other thing, the other advantage of LA, which is where you shot, is that there's a lot of great actors that are available for a day if you're shooting in LA, when they can sleep in their own bed, drive to set, and drive home. Yeah.
Totally. That's the other thing, is we know if we go out of state, we can get like a tax credit or something like that, but you lose access to all those great people who, and by the way, it's like these people are so, like Nat Faxon is just like the most wonderful, and he was just like, I'll be there, whatever you guys need. He was like, we felt so bad because we made him come back and do reshoots. He's like, I love this.
We even made him, those pictures at the end. He came in just to shoot pictures like where we look in love or whatever. I mean, he was amazing. And that actually has been so incredible to see how supportive these very successful actors are who don't need to come and do favors. You know,
it's a good lesson for us to always,
100%.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously you'd written the script, but when you saw the shooting schedule, whatever it was, what was the day you had circled in terms of, I can't wait to film this? And what were you thinking about, like, how the F are we going to film this?
Oh, it was so fast and blurry that I don't know that I had my attention on.
Well, we knew that the scene where she gets taken away to the mental hospital.
That was going to be scary. That was more, Like,
we planned that for the last day because I was like, if she gets hurt, she had to be tackled onto the ground.
and I did get hurt.
And she got hurt pretty badly. So
What exactly happened?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I need back surgery and my neck. I mean, no, I do, but probably not because of that. But no, it was awful. I'm not a stunt person.
you know what's funny is about when you tackle someone on a mat, mats are hard.
Yes, they are.
They're not like soft. Like we needed to tackle them into a
mattress
balloon. A mattress would have been great. Yeah, anyway, so I think it was just a hard hitting mattress. But we did that on the last day. And also, it's, working together with your sibling is always an interesting experience. And
Well, I was worried. I was like, what if, with all those people and a crew, like, what if I can't get emotional? He's like, don't worry, I will get you emotional. So behind the camera, he's yelling, do your fucking job.
yeah, I was like screaming at her. And then the editor got the footage and he was like, I was like, oh, I should have mentioned to you. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, that did frighten me a little bit. I was like, no.
We told each other to
she
be
knew
nice.
I was
I said,
gonna
be
yell
mean
at her,
to me,
like,
just to like upset me. But then I was like, but that wasn't the mean I meant for you to do to get me emotional.
But the thing is, like that day especially was so hard because we got this giant crane. It's not in the pilot anymore. We got
the beautiful crane shot we
50-foot like techno crane, and it like held up. It held us up for 3 hours, and that didn't even end up in the pilot.
And then also that location was right by Burbank Airport. So no joke, you had to say your lines really quickly because in 60 seconds another plane was going to come in.
Every 60 seconds for a while. Yeah. Anyway.
No, 100%, by the way. I can't believe you got a crane for this. And it didn't end up.
I know, we should send you the clip because it was a beautiful crane shot.
It was a shot. It was to transition from the 2 years, like 2 years later. Because now it's 4 months later, but it was like it was above the ambulance and then it went up and the ambulance pulled away and then it came down and she pulled up in the car. It was a really wonderful.
It was magical.
Anyway, what are you going to do?
So we're at Sundance.
Yes.
What does it mean for both of you to be accepted into Sundance and premiering here? Let me do that.
I mean, we'll start crying. It's such a huge deal. I feel so incredibly lucky. Because you mentioned earlier in the interview, like it's so hard to get even, a small break on something. So like to get this opportunity is huge.
I think our premiere is tomorrow. And I think what's so exciting is that we get to watch it with a big audience and to see what that is. We have no idea what that's going to be.
We haven't even had a screening, like a friends and family.
So
we've had nothing.
To get to watch with people and to see like, otherwise, it could just sit on our computer to the end of time. So where you send it out to people, but
Sure.
like to get to see it with an audience is really thrilling. And this is the Sundance Film Festival. It is the, it's, I used to come here in college. I used to come just to watch movies and think like, oh, like, wouldn't it be amazing to one day get to be here? I never really thought in a million years that would be able to happen. So it was all thanks to this person. So
thanks to this person.
It's almost like you like each other.
Sometimes.
And sometimes we don't. We definitely revert to those childhood dynamics, do you have a sibling?
I do.
Yeah, so maybe you know what I'm talking about. Maybe
I
you don't.
100% know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
100%.
But it's it's really special. And it's special to walk around these streets and see pictures of old things that premiered here and to get to meet other, filmmakers.
But also, it truly is special to get to be here with your sibling. Like, that's crazy that we both worked on a project.
And that we lived to tell about it.
Yeah, that too.
So I'm just about out of time.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, you have been on you did a lot of one episode appearances on 1,000 shows. So which is one that you have strong memories of, or is there one that you were so excited to be on?
I mean, I'd say that for me, that my favorite experiences were Veep. Was incredible, mostly because that group of people, first of all, there's a rehearsal process, which is amazing. And they sort of improvise and then they rewrite stuff. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I mean, anytime I've gotten to act with somebody like Julia Louis-Dreyfus or Steve Carell, like Hugh Laurie comes to mind. These people, they're just something about them. It's like acting with them. You feel like you don't feel like you're talking to an actor. You feel like you're talking to the real person.
Sure.
And it's just kind of an amazing experience. And people that I look up to, but that, you're talking about only one episode appearances, or can I talk about other ones?
Oh no, you can do whatever you want.
The Patient was an incredible experience because it was so unique because there was so much, so many scenes with no dialogue. So there would be days where they would just follow me around filming, just walking down the street, putting up, photos of Steve because we were trying to find him, or riding my bike, or whatever it was. And so there was something really an interesting experience about that. And then also learning all the Hebrew stuff and learning how to play the guitar and all that stuff. And then Barry was amazing just because it's such like, it's like a work of art, you know, in a certain way, but in a weird, you know, comical way.
But the other thing about Barry is when something like that is in the zeitgeist and everyone's watching, you're getting in front of every casting agent without getting a meeting. They're just seeing your work.
Yes. Yeah. And getting to act with Henry Winkler was great. And, you know, it was great. I will say The Dropout was particularly fun. It was particularly fun. The people there were great. And also it was just a fun world to get to exist in because it was just such a weird story. And everybody else there pretty much is playing a real person. And I wasn't. Like my character was just like a made up person. So I kind of got to just make something up and they kind of let me do it. So it was cool.
This is the question for both of you. Besides this pilot,
yeah,
if someone has never seen your work before, what's the first thing you want them watching and why?
Go ahead.
The first thing I want them watching and why? Oh gosh, I don't, that's a good question. Oh man, no, you go. I mean, I can answer.
Or you could do each, you could answer for, you could, you know, do a vice versa.
Phone voice number 1 in episode 305 of Person of Interest.
I mean, I would want people to see her in Bulldozer. I mean,
I think you're great in this.
I've done guest spot, you know, NCIS, Superstore. I don't know,
but I think, I mean, this is purely her. You know,
this is sort of the type of acting I want to do.
Yeah, listen, you are very, very good in this, and I really do hope that I guess a good way to end it. I really hope people watch this, and I hope, you know, studio people see it because it's clear that you're funny and that you know, like you're really good in this. You didn't suck. You know what I mean? You were okay as a director.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You didn't ruin her performances.
Thank you. That was the goal. I didn't want to ruin anything. Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, no, but I'm being really sincere. Like you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
And I really hope that that you know, that it continues. And
Thank
that
you.
Someone says, yeah, I want to finance this.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it very, very much. Yeah.
On that note, thank you for coming into Sundance.
Thank you for having us.
Have a fantastic premiere tomorrow.
Thank you.
And wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
You too.
Yeah, you too.